Well, good Saturday morning. It may not be this beautiful actually on Saturday around here, but on the day I'm recording this is an awfully pretty day, and trying to enjoy the Makarios of the moment. Welcome to Matthew study number 66 on this Saturday. This is Mark Pierce speaking. I'm the pastor of Church Requel. And just to, again, remind you, if you haven't been checking in these last few days, I'm recording this series of talks on the blessings, or the Makarios, from the Johnny Appleseed Park in Mansfield, Ohio. Johnny Appleseed actually lived here for about 20 years in the early 1800s. Just a quick reminder for those of you who might be looking for this daily Bible study every day. As you hopefully know by now, unless you're new, which is fine, welcome, we're glad you're here. But we don't do the study on Sundays, so tomorrow we'll be taking the day off and won't be taking a Matthew study. Instead, we'll be doing a sermon tomorrow morning on the website. We'll be back with the Matthew studies and more talks on the Beatitudes on Monday. So before we get into the actual study today, let's just go ahead and take our Bibles and try to do this. It's tough to hold the Bible, keep the wind from blowing, and hold the microphone at the same time. This takes real skill and talent. Don't try this at home. Leave this for the professionals. Anyway, we're going to read the Beatitudes one more time, Matthew chapter 5, beginning in verse 3. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when others revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven, for so they persecuted the prophets who were before you. Now, you might be saying, well, you know, the good folks of Matthew's church, when they read this, they must have had a whole different understanding of Makarios, or blessings, than what I have. Because none of this stuff, none of these circumstances sound very good to me. None of these are the kinds of things that would make me happy. And this, I think, is exactly why Jesus chooses to start the way he does, because he's saying that this kingdom of heaven, and this is what he's introducing, this kingdom of heaven that is coming here into earth, invading this world space, is different than anything that you have grown to expect. This idea of blessing, or Makarios, is exactly the same as what you and I would understand it. If we were to go back into the day of the Greeks, and we were to look at some of the early writings in Greeks, and we would look up this word Makarios, we would see that Homer, several centuries before, when he was talking about Makarios, was talking about those people who would be wealthy. When Plato was writing about Makarios, he was writing about someone who was successful in business. So, you know, it sounds very much like what you and I would think about when we think of Makarios. And yet Jesus is giving us this idea that something is different, something is new. If we were to give the Makarios from the world standpoint, we might write something like this. Happy are the rich, happy are the noble, happy are the successful, happy are the macho, happy are the glamorous, happy are the popular, happy are the famous, happy are the aggressive, right? But Jesus is coming. He is saying the kingdom of heaven is at hand. He is introducing himself as the king, and he is saying that my kingdom is different, and that the blessings of this kingdom are going to be different for you. He's saying that his kingdom, as he tells us in another place in Matthew, right? His kingdom is not of this world. His route to happiness, in other words, is going to be different than anything that we have grown to expect, and anything that his followers, these young disciples, anything that they had grown to expect. We have this sense, and I just have to confess to you, I'm just as guilty of this as anyone else. We have this unhappy concept, really, that things bring happiness. If I can just get that next gadget, if I could just get that computer, if I can just have this particular home, if I could just be driving that car, that things are going to bring happiness to us. But Jesus taught that these physical, worldly advantages most often limit our happiness. You see, the things of the world become the source of pride, become the source of lust, become the source of self-satisfaction. In fact, in another place, Jesus taught, Matthew chapter 13, verse 22, that the worry of the world and the deceitfulness of riches really choke the word and actually create an unfruitfulness in our life. Certainly the early writers, besides Matthew, wrote of this. John, in 1 John chapter 2, verse 15, says, "Do not love the world, nor the" what? "Things of the world." Paul, when he's writing in Colossians chapter 3, verse 1, says, "Keep seeking the things above. Set your minds on the things above, not of the things of this world." So Jesus, when he's giving us these makarios, when he's giving us these blessings, he literally is turning our world upside down. And he is suggesting to us in very straightforward language, certainly language that would grab our attention in any introduction of any sermon that you could imagine, that what you think will bring you happiness won't, and the things that you think couldn't possibly bring you joy and happiness will, if you are in Christ, if you are part of this new kingdom. Well, that's going to wrap it up for us this particular week. But I hope that you have a great weekend. I hope that you are learning the makarios, the blessings of Jesus. And when we come back on Monday, we're going to begin getting into some of these individual circumstances that Jesus tells us can actually bring us joy and happiness regardless of what's going on in the circumstances of our life. Thanks for joining me today. This has been Mark Pierce of Church Requel, and I look forward to talking to you again very soon.